Argyle's Emirates FA Cup journey starts today. It's away at Grimsby, and if we can better last year's, well, it'll be some season. It wasn't a bad run last season, was it? All the way to the fourth round and that magical day at Stamford Bridge. Who could forget it? And today is the start of a brand new Emirates FA Cup journey for Stephen Schumacher and his Argyle side. Good afternoon. It's a drizzly, hot, horrible day, isn't it? November at its best. FA Cup first round weekend always seems to bring up these sorts of days. And well, it's no different for Argyle up at Blundell Park today, up in Lincolnshire, making the tremendously long journey up today. And we on Argyle TV will be building up to that as best we can over the next 45 minutes or so. A reminder, due to competition rules, we can't stream today's game, but we will be bringing you audio commentary, myself and Ian Stonebridge, from the action up at Blundell Park, and making sure you are across everything you can be if you aren't lucky enough to be there. Now, the Greens don't have the best record up in Lincolnshire against the Mariners. They haven't actually won there since 1932, but don't fear. We have got a little bit of an omen in our side, because the only time that these two sides have met in the FA Cup was in the first round at Home Park a few years ago, and Argyle got the better of Grimsby that day. Well, as I mentioned, Ian Stonebridge, the former Argyle striker, is alongside me building up to this afternoon's game. Ian, good afternoon. It's a hideous day, but it is FA Cup first round weekend day. There is something special about the Cup, isn't there?
There definitely is, and I think it's although we've been handed a tie that Argyle fans maybe not entirely happy with. I think the magic of the FA Cup, if you like, all of the games being on, starting last night, obviously, and earlier kickoffs today, it just puts you in the right mood, I think, for the competition. And it's great, these games that pit teams against each other that don't normally perhaps come across each other. It's always a great occasion.
You mentioned it kicking off yesterday. A couple of ties that could have gone against the run and play, with Portsmouth and Sheffield Wednesday getting through. Your memories from the FA Cup? You gave me a little tidbit just before we came on air. Debut day goal for Ian Stonebridge in the FA Cup.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was my first season down here, obviously, and we went up to Brentford in the Cup. I can't remember. I think there was a division difference between us at the time, though it wasn't quite as, the gap maybe wasn't as pronounced as it is just now, with Brentford obviously doing so well in the Premier League. But yeah, we went up there, and yeah, I remember getting on the end of a nice cross to get off the mark, and I think we drew 2-2 and brought them back. And we had a decent run in the Cup that season, actually, and playing some teams in divisions above us, and few replays, and I think it ended when Preston came down here and gave us a bit of a lesson, I think, in the fourth round. So yeah, it was a really nice start in the competition, and yeah, for me personally, I always enjoyed playing in the FA Cup, and as you said, that variety of teams that you get to play against, always raises up a few surprises.
I'm sure we'll talk about it before kickoff and then during the game as well. But last year's run, we saw a little clip of the games that got us to Stamford Bridge. There were 2 on telly for the first couple of rounds, Sheffield Wednesday and Rochdale, and then Ryan Law getting the winner at Birmingham. And then finally that game at Chelsea and taking the lead. And it was such a great day. And you mentioned good runs in cups, and something that clubs like Argyle that do play predominantly in the lower leagues. I know this year we're hoping to do well in the league, but you remember those moments, don't you? Remember those games, those runs?
You definitely do, and I think not only for the players, it's the supporters, it's the occasion, it's travelling up, as you said, that variety, and the fact you have that opportunity of playing a team that you wouldn't normally play, and obviously, yeah, that run that Argyle had last year, culminating in the tie-up at Stamford Bridge. It's fantastic for the whole club. Not only from a financial perspective, it obviously gives the club a bonus in that respect that we can't ignore. But yeah, I think the confidence that the players gained from going up there and giving Chelsea a bit of a scare, and it was a fantastic day out, I think, for all the fans as well. So yeah, it will live long in the memory, I'm sure.
Well, this is the start of the journey to try and do something similar again this season for Argyle. As always, we want you to get in touch with us here on Argyle TV. You can tweet us at Argyle, or you can leave a message on the video below here on the YouTube stream. We'll read as many as we can out between now and heading across to kickoff. We'll also be hearing from Stephen Schumacher a little later on, and Dan Scarr, who has very fond memories of the FA Cup in his non-league days. But let's start off by diving straight in and having a little look at the team news for this afternoon's game. And we'll start with Argyle. 5 changes made by Stephen Schumacher from the win against Exeter City on Monday. Will Jenkins-Davies coming in for a start. Big afternoon for him. Other changes see Nigel Lonvike, Matt Butcher recalled to the starting lineup. Connor Grant is in instead of Barley Mumba, who drops to the bench. And Ryan Hardy, fresh off his 2 goals on Monday in the derby, gets a start today. Looking at that, Ian, what are your initial thoughts about the side?
Yeah, I think firstly, I'm not surprised to see a few changes. I think the change in competition just gives a chance for the manager to freshen things up and perhaps give opportunities to players who've been on the fringes, and certainly maybe in Connor Grant's case, it's still building back from injury. So there's a few opportunities for people today to really stake a claim for a first team place in the league games that are coming up. So without disrupting the side too much, there's still some interesting changes that we see, and perhaps even a slight change in shape from what we've been used to be seeing from Argyle.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because Will Jenkins-Davies' introduction and Ryan Hardy coming in for Niall Ennis, who'd been playing in that withdrawn role in the last game, and Morgan Whittaker, might look as if it is going to be 2 up top with Cosgrove and Hardy. Will Jenkins-Davies, as many Argyle fans will know, is that kind of creative attacking midfielder. So it could be a change of shape. Do you see it being any other way? The way the side could line up today?
I think, like you say, the selection of Hardy and Cosgrove together, of all the strikers and all the forward players we've got, you'd probably argue they're the most conventionally, players that play as a striker, where they're up against the back 3, back 4, however the opposition line up, as opposed to being players that can play slightly deeper or from wider areas. So that probably gives us a bit of an indication that, as you said, the 2 up top is likely to be what we see. Will Jenkins-Davies is a very versatile player. He's got great ability, great game understanding, and he could play really anywhere across the midfield or in behind the strikers there. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see, Randall and Butcher sitting as 2 midfielders with Will Jenkins-Davies in front of them, just behind that front 2. But we know that there's a fair bit of versatility, across this lineup. So we may see a variation of that, if not from the start, at some point in the game.
Yeah, and just quickly on Will, in 18 years old, first full season as a pro footballer. He's been in and around the squad over the last couple of months, really. Got his first goal in the Papa John's Trophy, but this is something a little bit more different, isn't it? This is another step up now for him.
It is the intensity of this. It's the FA Cup. It's if you want to say, it's a proper first team game where the manager's looking to go out and win this, and that there'll be a really good atmosphere inside the ground, I'm sure. So it's just a game with a bit more pressure on it than perhaps Will's been used to in his first team appearances so far. But having been fortunate enough to work with Will, through his younger ages in the academy, he's really level-headed, he's really focused, he's got great ability on the ball, but more than that, his intensity, his work rate, he'll be a real pest to whoever he's up against in terms of opponent today, and it'll be great to get the ball into him and see how he can influence the game.
Absolutely would. Let's just have a look at some of the comments that have come in from you guys getting involved with us here on Argyle TV today. Steve says, good afternoon. That's a very strong lineup. Nice to see. Ad says something similar. Like the lineup looks good. So keep them coming in at Argyle on Twitter or Facebook, or you can drop us a comment in the comment section below on the video here that you're watching on YouTube. Let's look at Grimsby's side then. They've made quite a few changes as well from a 1-0 defeat away at Hartlepool on the weekend. Most notably, no spot for the former Argyle striker Ryan Taylor, who's been leading the line for them a lot this season. Therefore, changes see the left back Glennon come in, Hunt into centre midfield, Kiernan and Khan on the wings. They predominantly line up with wing back positions in their side. Paul Hurst's team have had a decent start to life back up in League Two after promotion last season, Ian. Without kind of pushing you on areas you think they might hurt Argyle, what are the potential problems that Argyle might face, not just from this side, but also just the fact that it is a side that are in a lower league, it's away from home, it's miserable conditions. And Paul Hurst is a manager, of course, who, at this level has done wonderful things with teams.
Yeah, without wishing to trot out all of the FA Cup cliches, I think the conditions perhaps and the nature of the FA Cup first round can be quite a good leveler in terms of teams that are maybe not having the best of seasons in their league campaigns. They almost get a free run at this. It's a free game. They can go out without too much pressure. Obviously, for Grimsby, the expectation isn't necessarily that they're going to progress through the competition. So again, from their point of view, it's a chance for them to come out and play against a team in Argyle who are really setting the pace in the league above. It's a great test for them. They'll want to put on a good performance, not just the fact they're at home in front of their fans, but also that opportunity to progress in this competition, which, again, like Argyle, for a club like Grimsby, it could be really important and valuable to them financially. So I'm expecting it to be a really tough game for them today.
Well, let's hear from Stephen Schumacher, shall we? It's a break from league action, of course, this afternoon in the FA Cup. The league action, of course, that has seen Argyle go 4 points clear at the top of the table, got that Devon Derby win on Monday. But this FA Cup challenge is a little bit different, and it's something that our manager looks forward to.
Loved the FA Cup. Obviously, growing up as a kid, it was the games you always look forward to as a fan. Playing career did okay in the FA Cup, never got on really any exciting runs. Last year was definitely my best experience of the FA Cup, with getting to the fourth round and playing Chelsea away and doing as well as we did. So that was really special, and hopefully we can try and get the first hurdle out the way we're on Saturday away at Grimsby and get on another journey. Yeah,
I suppose that's the carrot for every team, isn't it? At this stage, whether it's, we're the highest ranked team that's in the FA Cup at the moment, whether it's the lowest ranked non-league side, it's all about what's around the corner, isn't it, in rounds 3 and 4, and that's sort of something that keeps you going.
Yeah, it's the excitement builds. So I say we're the highest ranked team, we're the one that everybody will be wanting to beat, because that's what you do. You look for who's the best in the draw at the time, and yet we've got a real tricky game away at Grimsby, so it'll be really tough. But if we get through that, then we hope we get another good draw that we can progress. And as you just said, once the third round comes in and Championship teams and the Premier League boys come in, then yeah, it's the competition kicks in properly then.
You've already mentioned it's a bit of a motif we've been talking about just lately, is being there to be shot at, being the top of the division, and other teams in our division looking to contest that. But this is against a team that's a league below in Sky Bet League 2, but they're at home. It'll be a big occasion for Grimsby. Once again, we are there to be shot at, but you're starting to get used to that, I would imagine, now.
Yeah, we're used to it. I think we've been at the top of the league now for a little while, and we've been playing well, and yeah, it's something I think the players have dealt with really well. So Grimsby will be no different on Saturday. I think they're going to be desperate to try and put a mark on against us. They've got nothing to lose. They're at home. Their ground, I remember going in as a player a few times. It's always a tough place to go. They get a good crowd. So we're expecting a tough game. Paul Hurst is their manager as well, who we know a little bit about, who always has his teams really well organised and they're always a fit team. So yeah, we're expecting a hard game, and we've got to go there on Saturday and try and be at our best and try and get through to the next round, because it's important for the club that we do progress as far as we go and try and keep that momentum going.
Yeah, he's one of those figures that's, we talk about people finding their club. He's a real hero around Grimsby, isn't he? I think he's in his second spell now. But what do you know about him and his team? What are you, kind of a challenge you're expecting?
So yeah, a tough challenge, as just said. So I remember him, I come across him more when he was at Shrewsbury. Done really well that year in League One at Shrewsbury. I know he did well previously but at Grimsby Town, and then he's gone back there. So what we've watched of them is one of Paul Hurst's teams. I say they're always well organised. They always have a threat on the counter-attack. They've got Ryan Taylor playing up front for them, who is obviously, we all know, at Argyle. So it's yeah, they'll be a tough game. I don't know where the conditions are going to be like, but I always remember it being quite cold the time you go to Grimsby and blowy, because it's not far from the sea. So we have to try and deal with them conditions, but we're not expecting to roll up there and have it all our own way. We definitely won't. It's a cup tie. Anything can happen in the FA Cup. That's why everybody loves it. So we'll have to make sure that we're at it.
Stephen Schumacher there. I have to make sure we're at it. You've already said, Ian, we're not going to trot out the cliches with the FA Cup, but this one kind of feels like it could be one you could use quite a lot for. You know, Argyle, the highest ranked side in the competition, playing against Grimsby, who've just come up from the National League, having an indifferent season. It's away from home, it's long travel, it's wet and windy. Argyle are playing really well. Has all the hallmarks, doesn't it, of a potentially an upset, something Argyle will have to test against?
I guess when you put it like that, it can do. I think the important thing, as the gaffer said there, is I think that word momentum. So regardless of the competition, and Argyle will want to maintain that form. They'll want to maintain that style of play, the attitude that they've had in their games, right through this season up to this point. I think that's the crucial thing. So clearly they'd rather be playing at home or somewhere closer than Grimsby today. But as soon as they've got up there and got into their kind of, their preparatory phase for the game in terms of talking about tactics and getting into the changing room, getting out on the pitch, all of that will be forgotten. They'll all professionals, they're playing in the team, they're fighting for their places. So from a point of view of Argyle's players, it's just as important, I think, to every single one of them as it is to the Grimsby players, in that they want to continue playing in a team that's doing well. And as we already mentioned at the start with this lineup today, there's a couple of people with a chance to stake a claim that, they will want to be involved from the start in more of the league games. And that's a great carrot to be able to kind of dangle to those players today.
One of the things that's been really impressive, I think, of the Argyle side, especially I would say in recent games, they have been tested. If you think back to Shrewsbury, it was a difficult kind of game for them to get through. They eventually did it. Exeter City was the same on Monday, where went behind twice but showed that personality and character to get back. And the fact you're on a 16-match unbeaten run in all competitions it proves that you are clearly a very, very good team, and Argyle are coming into this in incredible form. But how have you been impressed with that kind of fight? Because they've clearly got the quality, and they're now showing that they've got just a little bit more as well. They've got that sort of a quality that a lot of winning sides, people say, need to have.
I think we've definitely seen that, and like you said, the philosophy of play, the approach, the passing, the formation perhaps change that we've seen from the start of this season that seems to have been, or has been undoubtedly really positive so far. All of that means very little if you don't have a team that plays together, cares about it, gets, made sure that they show the fans, show everyone in the ground that they're really up for it every single time, that they're playing for their shirts. I think that's the crucial bit. And as you said, those last couple of games, perhaps Argyle haven't been as fluent in their play. They haven't been able to have it all their own way, haven't perhaps been creating loads and loads of chances in the way that they would like to. But having said that, those results are incredibly positive when you put them in the context of the season. And I think that character, this word resilience, gets bandied around a lot these days, but it's a crucial quality that the team need to have, and you don't put yourself at the top of the league after this many games without really having that togetherness and that fighting spirit, which this team at the moment are showing that they've got in abundance.
You would, as an outsider looking at this game, think this is a banker for Argyle. This is one they'll just continue their form, and judging by what you said there, they won't necessarily see this as something that could be a distraction, which is always banded at sides that are playing well in their respective leagues.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not privy to information about the finances of the club, but my guess would be that if Stephen Schumacher and the coaching team can get the team on a really good run in the FA Cup, there's the chance for them to enhance their budget. And that's a way for them to improve the team in January, or to at least get some of those reinforcements in that we may well need across the rest of this League One season. So to me, the incentive is there for everyone from Argyle's perspective involved in this game, for the players in playing for their places, for the management staff, and the players in progressing, not only having the excitement of that run in the FA Cup, which can be really, really, really great as it was last season, but also the potential financial rewards, which again have the chance to bolster Argyle's bid for promotion this year.
We're watching Argyle TV. We're counting down to kick off at Blundell Park for the first round of the Emirates FA Cup between Grimsby Town and Argyle. We want to hear from you, please. You can drop us a comment on social media, on Twitter or Facebook at Argyle, or you can leave us a comment in the comment section below this feed on YouTube. Now, we'll be hearing from Dan Scarr in just a little bit about how he looks forward to the FA Cup and his early days. We'll also be reminding ourselves of what happened on Monday night. I know you want to, so stay tuned for that.
Bad ball in,
Well, Monday night's win over Exeter City capped off a brilliant October for Plymouth Argyle. 7 games played, 6 wins, 1 draw. And their win on Monday made it 9 from 9 at the start of a season. 100% record at home, which is also a new club record. And it's continued that run of form, which has seen them get to 16 matches unbeaten in all competitions too. High in confidence, high in spirit. Let's just remind ourselves of Monday, shall we? I know you want to. I've seen it 1,000 times, but you can always see it one more, can't you?
Space at the break on, actually. If the pass is right towards Stansfield, Mumba has to be aware. Got there first, but then Stansfield picks his pocket, runs away from Mumba again. There are men over at the back for City. Stansfield into the area, across goal and in. Possession back off Key. Keeps it as well. Randall delivers into the middle. Whittaker is there! Yes! It's an instant reply for Argyle! Morgan Whittaker! Oh, and he's been put under pressure there by Dan Scarr with a loose pass at the back, and it's played in towards Sam Nombe. He's got behind Cooper and scores! No. And Argyle are behind again! And it's a mistake at the back. City with everybody back. It's towards Blackman, who I think he got something on it. City do manage to clear it away. Mumba urged to shoot, hits it well!
Oh my goodness me! What a finish!
What a goal!
Wow!
Pick that out, Barley Mumba! Snapping challenge from Joe Edwards. Houghton then rides one challenge. He's got a man free on the right-hand side. Whittaker is that man. Low ball into Hardy!
Yes! That's why they made the substitution, Charlie. What a goal!
Whittaker Ball bounces for him, looks to slide it through. Hardy's in, 1-on-1, puts it in and scores! And that could be it! Calmness personified from Ryan Hardy!
Calmness personified from Ryan Hardy, not from Charlie Price and Mark Edworthy in the commentary box, and probably not by many around the ground watching that if you're an Argyle supporter. It topped off, as I mentioned, a brilliant October for Stephen Schumacher's side. And Ian, I know you were watching that. You could hear the ground from your house too. But we spoke about the quality and character that we've seen from Argyle in recent games, but just watching those goals back again, that's where the sheer quality is there as well. It isn't just pure grit that's getting you Argyle through games at the moment.
No, absolutely. I was a bit rough over the weekend, so I had to stay away. But I definitely made my sore throat a bit worse during the game in my living room. So, no, what a fantastic evening. And like you said, there's a few moments of quality in there where, despite the fact Argyle weren't perhaps as dominant in terms of possession or creating chances, right the way through that game, they certainly showed their ability. And for me, other than the obvious moments, Morgan Whittaker's first touch for his goal in that first half was absolutely fantastic, and equally Ryan Hardy from Whittaker's pass for the third goal was just fantastic. It's those little bits of quality that set you up, that make the finish much easier, or at least put the ball in a place where you have the chance to shoot, and that was great from Argyle, as well as the other moments through the evening that were fantastic. But yeah, what a night, and you can't beat it. People won't care about the performance. Ultimately the clinical nature of Argyle's finishing is what got them the 4-2 win, which their manager maybe argues flatters Argyle a little bit, but we don't care about that.
No, you're right. We absolutely don't. And I'm still recovering my voice too. But it shows the exciting nature of this side as well. Heading into that game, only a couple of sides had scored more than Argyle in the whole of the EFL. They then put 4 past Exeter City, and it takes that tally up even further. It is an exciting brand, isn't it?
It is, and I think ultimately the fans know they come to the stadium, they're going to be entertained, and for lots of football clubs that's not necessarily the case. But with this brand of football that Stephen Schumacher has embedded, the way the players are playing with such confidence, and yeah, if you're going to come and see a game where there's goals involved, ultimately at the moment more of them are going in at the right end for us, so it's long may that continue. But yeah, it's great to see the players playing with such confidence, and the ability that we've got throughout this squad to create those chances and to score the goals. The goals really spread around. We've got players getting into decent figures now, but ultimately there's players throughout that team that are contributing, and that's great to see.
4 goals scored, lots of excitement from Argyle then going forward, and a bit of joy at the back as well on Monday when Dan Scarr returned from his first game back after his red card against Accrington. 3 games out, hoping to make up for some lost time. Here he is speaking to Rob McNichol from Argyle TV ahead of this one.
Nah, I hate watching it. Yeah, I always want to kicking at every ball. Terrible watcher, but I'm glad to be back in. So good.
Is it slightly more frustrating sometimes for a suspension than an injury? I know you don't want to be injured, but when you're injured, you can't play. When you're suspended, you're like, oh, I'm ready.
Exactly, because you sort of even training and stuff like that, you train hard and that because you need to keep your fitness and stuff, but you're not training with an end goal sort of thing. It's just a strange one really mentally, but it's the fact that I'm not injured and I think I want to get out there and do it. It's tough, but it's good to support the lads and stuff, and like we say, because we've got a good strong team now. If anyone drops out and stuff, the next person that steps in is always ready, and always plays well.
Absolutely. I think in some ways we'd like to keep the league action going for the momentum that we have. But the FA Cup is still a great competition, and of course we had a great experience in it last year. Yeah. Does that sort of raise the excitement for you going into the weekend?
Definitely, I love that competition. That's where I came through out of non-league into the football league and stuff. So I love this competition, but it's just a good chance that exactly we got Birmingham, Chelsea. We had a game on TV, or 2 in fact, because we had Sheffield Wednesday and Rochdale. So it's just it's good all round really. There's a lot of good things that can come for it for the club, financially with TV draws and big draws. So you just have to get through, and these ones are always the toughest, where you're not classed as the underdog, but yeah, well, I'm sure we'll give it a good go and we'll be professional about it.
Now, I was going to ask you about that because we're kind of there to be shot at in the league as well, because we're top of the league, but it exaggerates that even more, doesn't it, going League One versus League Two tie?
Yeah.
They will be bang up for it, you would think, Grimsby.
Yeah, definitely. I've never personally played at Grimsby, so I'm not sure what it's like, but I've played them over the years and stuff, and they're always like they can be scrappy, they're like get in your faces and stuff like that, so we just have to be prepared for that, and that's what the staff will do. They'll prepare us the right way we need to be and do a professional job to go out there and get into the next round.
Just under half an hour to go then until kickoff at Blundell Park for the first round of the Emirates FA Cup for Argyle this season. We'll be hoping to head across to Lincolnshire very, very soon and have a chat with Rob McNichol, who's in position there. But before we do so, let's just take our eye off today's game just for a little bit and look at something off the pitch that Argyle are doing so well currently. And since launching Pledge 35, our volunteering scheme for Project 35, over 200 members of the community have signed up. Their impact in the region has been profound, as we found out when we visited Fairshare Southwest.
So recently we welcomed our Pledge 35 volunteers for an induction evening. We had over 150 sign up to volunteer as part of Project 35, and we had 73 turn up to our first induction evening. So it's been really, really wonderful to meet them, get to know all of the volunteers and kind of work out what their skill sets are, see what type of people they are and what interests them, how we can get them involved in our volunteer programme. Our volunteers are already well underway in supporting local charities and helping those most in need. One organisation who we are supporting through Project 35 are Fairshare Southwest.
Fairshare Southwest are a surplus food charity, and essentially we take vital produce from the wholesale level of the supply chain and we redistribute it to frontline charities that need it. What those charities do is they turn it into nutritious, healthy meals for people in need, or they turn it into food parcels that goes out across the community.
Fairshare came to us and expressed they were struggling for volunteers, they were struggling to keep the interest of volunteers that they had, so we feel that that's a huge part of what Project 35 aims to do, to highlight and to enforce and to support the ongoing network in the city that's been here for an awful long time. So yeah, it's really great that we can bring people here, we can bring our own staff here, club staff here to help out and support what they're doing.
I chose to volunteer for Fairshare because I've been an Argyle supporter for 56 years, and this season to have Project 35 on the shirt was an interest to me at what it was all about. Having seen the map here of how much they do, it's unbelievable, and it's unbelievable how much that 35% has now risen since 2019 to how many they've got to distribute to.
My experiences here at Fairshare Southwest are that it's an incredibly powerful organisation in the city and right across the country. They do an awful lot of work covering Devon and Cornwall, which is a large area to cover. So to be able to come here, provide our volunteers, our staff that have come here, our club staff, pick some of the food behind me and make sure that it goes to the right charities, the right organisations and supports the right people is powerful.
Pledge 35 volunteers that we've had coming into the warehouse have had just a tremendous impact on our operation. It means that we're able to get all of the orders out to our 350 charities that we support across the region. It means that the orders get picked on time, they get loaded onto the vans at a reasonable time as well. And also we're able to just think about onboarding lots of new charities as well. We've got 400 charities on our waiting list at present. So with the help of more volunteers, it means that we can start to get new charities on board because we've got the volunteers that are able to do the work. So it's just, it couldn't be, more important.
So 18 of our pledgers have currently given up their time to come here and support the work that FareShare do. They've been engaged in roles such as picking the food, packing it, making sure that it's out at the right time. They've also been drivers' mates, and actually we've got one pledger who's now going to be trained up to become a driver for the organisation, which is amazing. And obviously their work spans Devon and Cornwall, so we are looking for more pledgers, more people to become involved in this. It's one of several opportunities that Pledge 35 can offer through Project 35, and we would love more people to sign up, so please visit the website and fill in your details. It's as simple as that. It'll take just a few minutes and you can become involved in some great work.
Yeah, as Dan says there, you can get involved with Pledge 35 and our volunteer scheme for Project 35 by checking out all the details, filling in a form on our website, pafc.co.uk. You'll find the details there. And I've just got a message in from Steve that says, Pledge 35 has helped my family so much. So thank you to everyone who has got involved. Thank you. And that's why we do it, and that is why it is done. But we are back onto the football. We are getting closer and closer towards kickoff at Blandale Park for Argyle's first round FA Cup tie against Grimsby Town. We'll be bringing you team news in just a moment's time. But first, let's have a little look at how Grimsby have been getting on. So promoted back into Sky Bet League 2 via the playoffs last season. They had a couple of belting games against Wrexham in the semi-final and then Solihull in the final extra time win to get back up to this division, the second promotion that Paul Hurst has had with the club. And they've started okay. They're mid-table, 13th heading into this one. And last weekend, they were hoping to put to bed the first defeat in 5 away at Hartlepool. How did they get on? That 2-1 defeat means it's 2 defeats in a row for Paul Hurst's side coming into this one. They'll be looking to arrest that if they can. But of course, Argyle looking to get past the first round of the FA Cup for the 5th season in a row. Let's have a look at the side then, shall we, to see which players have been tasked with doing just that and getting the Greens over the line. 5 changes made by Stephen Schumacher from the win over Exeter City on Monday night. That sees Lonvike, Butcher and Grant come back into the side. Hardy gets a reward for his brace that day with a start. And there's also a position for Will Jenkins Davies, his first start outside of being a Papa John's Trophy game. Ian Stonebridge is still with me here, Ian. We've spoken about Will Jenkins-Davis and him getting into the side and playing today, but Ryan Hardy's another one in that forward line. Him and Cosgrove together. We haven't seen them play too often, especially from the start as a pairing, because we haven't played with two up front. How do you see that one potentially going?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting selection first of all, and depending how they actually line up, it could give us a few clues, as to perhaps another option that the manager can employ across the rest of the season. So maybe at certain points in games there'll be a need to switch personnel and switch systems, and combining two strikers up front, particularly with the qualities that Sam Cosgrove and Ryan Hardy have, could be really fruitful. So the obvious one of Cosgrove and his strength in the air and Ryan Hardy's pace is, something that you probably see less of in the modern game in terms of, strikers playing as a pair and running onto flick-ons. But that could be an option today. And maybe the conditions, if the pitch is slick and not quite as conducive to Argyle's passing game as we're used to, that might be an option that Argyle are thinking about in the way that they set up today. But yeah, ultimately they'll both be desperate as strikers to get on the score sheet. And I think as we said, if they can stake a claim as a pair, that just again sticks something else in the manager's mind from a point of view of team selection in the coming weeks in the league.
Let's have a look at Grimsby's side then. They've also made changes from that defeat against Hartlepool. No spot for Ryan Taylor, the former Argyle man. Picked up an injury in the week, so he misses out. He's one of 4 changes made by Paul Hurst. The others see Mayer, Richardson and Amos drop out. Glennon, Hunt, Kiernan and Khan come in for them. And Luke Waterfall, their centre-back, captain, stalwart of the club, will be hoping to try and keep the likes of Ryan Hardy and Sam Cosgrove quiet. Let's try and head across to Cleethorpes and up to Lincolnshire, to Blundell Park, where we hopefully will find Rob McNichol, who's wrapped up nice and warm. Rob, because it's pretty rainy down here in Plymouth and quite cold. I can only imagine what it's like up there.
Yeah, no rain here, Charlie, but it is very, very cold. It's like winter has suddenly arrived. Although we're virtually in Norway up here, aren't we, rather than being down in the southwest. But no, it's very nice. We're looking forward to the game. I think the conditions are going to be interesting. It is very swirly, it's very cold, and I think the grass looks quite long on the pitch as well. So I think, as you just said, maybe not conducive to Argyle's normal style, but I don't think that will hinder anyone here. I'm sure we can mix it up these days.
As always, Argyle supporters travel so well. I saw lots of posts on social media this morning of people setting off at 3:30 a.m, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock to get up there. How many are there in position at the minute? Are they shielding from the wind?
I can try and show you. How's my camera? Right? You probably can't see it in the light there, but over my left shoulder, that side, that's the Argyle fans down that end. You can actually just see Ryan Taylor's head look just next to me as well. He's sitting in the row in front of me at the moment, missing out on the game. But the Argyle fans are down that end. For those of you that were here when we just missed out on the championship a few years ago, it's down in that same end. So there's a few hardy souls down there already. They'll make themselves known. Don't worry about that.
Ryan Taylor would have been playing for Argyle that day. Have you managed to grab a word with him?
I have, yeah.
You tapped him on the shoulder. How is he?
We had a little chat earlier on. No, well, he's other than not being fit for today, he's well. He said he's really enjoying it here. Enjoys it at Grimsby. He said it's a well-run club, and fans make a lot of noise at home, and he's very happy. So I don't think we want to be taking this too easily today. This is a club that feels. Every now and again, a club turns the corner. When they've been really struggling. I think 18 months ago in the National League with owners that the fans didn't like, and things were really turbulent off the pitch, but they've turned that round. They're right in the middle of League Two, but having got promoted last year, they do feel like they're still on the up, and I'm sure they'd love to get one over a League One side today. So we're going to be on our guard, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that, we played our run to the 4th round last season. Magnificent game at Stamford Bridge. We've had good success actually in the FA Cup in the last couple of seasons. If I were to push both you, Ian, and Rob, we'll start with you, Rob, of specific FA Cup memories that stick out to you, obviously from an Argyle point of view.
Ever or recently?
Ever, Rob. Ever.
Do you know what? I'll go back early into my Argyle supporting life, and it's a defeat, which is weird. But I remember losing 3-1, I think it was, at home to Coventry I believe it was 95, 96 when we got promoted via Wembley. But that was the first time I'd really seen home park absolutely full, a Premier League team down, and we played really, really well that day, only for Cov to turn it around in the second half. But that's an early one that jumps to my mind. But clearly days like Arsenal and Liverpool and Chelsea and whatever were very, very special as well.
Ian, is yours your goal at Brentford?
I can't have that. It's got to be I think for me, the one that sticks in the mind is Chris Hargreaves' volley away at Reading. So same season, but going there, I think they were not long in the Majeski Stadium at that stage, and certainly a club with a fair amount of resources behind them. And we obviously went up there, and I think that volley, won us a replay, and we brought them back to home park and dealt with them here. So yeah, that was a great goal for Argyle and a really good occasion, I think.
We're hoping for another little journey for some new memories again this season. Rob, thanks a lot as always for touching base with us here. Wrap up warm. Rob McNichol up at Blundell Park for this afternoon's game, and we will be bringing you commentary of that game in about 15 minutes time. So unfortunately there is no live streaming of this game, visual anyway, due to competition rules. So Argyle TV's providing audio commentary. £2.50 is what it will cost you. Go to our website, pafc.co.uk. Click on the Argyle TV tab and you can find all of your options there. Just a final chance to run through a couple of the comments that have been coming in from you guys. Here is one that is from Mulkey. It says, Grimsby Town's my friend's local team. Plymouth is my team. So split loyalties potentially in the friendship there. The real D1 is optimistic, gives Argyle a big 5-0 win over Grimsby in this afternoon's game. Lots of people talking up Argyle's chances. Becky says 2-0, come on you Greens. They are looking, well, bolshy, these predictions. Ian, from you then, I won't ask for a prediction, but what do Argyle have to do in this game?
Yeah, I think I'm confident and optimistic about the game as a whole and the result. I'm sure that Argyle have enough to get a positive outcome from today, but only if they show that same attitude that they've applied in the league throughout the season so far. And I think that's the key thing. The coaching staff, I'm sure, and the manager won't allow them to go out with anything other than an attitude that this is a game that they really want to win. They want to progress in the competition and continue that. We've said it earlier on, but the momentum I think is crucial when you're in a team that is winning. It's a habit that you want to keep going, and it's a habit that kind of builds expectations amongst the team, the coaching staff, and the fans as well. And I think as a whole, that can really build across the season, and it's one of the reasons why Argyle find themselves in the position in the league that they're in at the moment, and I think that can stand them in good stead going into today's cup game.
Well, let's hope so, for sure. Will they make it 17 wins in a row? Will they get past Grimsby and get into the second round of the FA Cup? Commentary on Argyle TV, as I said, audio only, can be found on our website, pafc.co.uk. Just costs you £2.50. You do not want to miss out if you're not up at Blundell Park, that is for sure. Ian and I will be heading over to commentary, which is coming up next.